Ever wonder how the same anime that does something like this
Hey, I know. I'll use my trusty frying pan as a drying.
also ends up doing something like this?
Started looking at what's the same instead of always looking at what's different. Well, who knows?
This is Pokemon, the same anime that told me that you can leave your house at 10 years old and at the same time solve my existential crisis. And which particular movie did that for me? Well, say hello to Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. Released in 1998, this movie follows the journey of Ash and his friends in the Kanto region when they receive a letter from a Dragonite inviting them to a mysterious unknown island in the middle of, well, God knows where. Ash, being the giga chad he is like heck yeah, and assembles at the port to take off the island. Despite the terrible weather, Ash's main character plot, armor, allows him and a few other trainers to reach the island somehow. There they are invited by none other than Mewtwo himself, joined by his 3 clone Pokemon, the completely evolved forms of the 3 original starters, Charizard, Blastoise and Venusaur. We find out that Mewtwo wants revenge against Pokemon trainers and humanity in general because of his past being a creation of Team Rocket. After a long fought hard battle, I'm just kidding, it was a one-sided beatdown. Mewtwo ends up capturing all of the trainers' Pokemon, but Ash, being the main character that he is, goes after his Pokemon. Anyways, yay, Mew's here, and Ash ends up breaking out of Mewtwo's cloning lab with all of the Pokemon. After a clash between the originals and the clones, Ash decides to jump in between 2 legendaries but realizes that he is out of plot armor, literally the hard way. But nah man, for real, this scene really did make me cry when I was a small child. Then the Pokemon start crying and the tears bring Ash back to life through freeze, thaw, weathering, never mind. Mewtwo realizes his mistakes and pulls off one of the biggest hit and run cases with his entire gang as he and Mew run away. There's the recap. Now, if you're like me and never thought about this movie twice, then you realize that this movie had a lot of themes discussing identity and control. Think about it, Mewtwo was created solely from Mew's DNA to be someone's weapon and achievement. Because after all he's been through, this finally made him feel like he has something under his control. But honestly, I personally feel like under all of this violence, Mewtwo just has this desire to belong, to be loved, not used. We can see this reinforced in Mewtwo's, well, I guess you can say vision or dream that he has when he's still going through his birthing stage, where we see sadness when the other clones and his friend leave him, as Mewtwo is left as the only successful clone. This feeling of things being out of control is something that humans feel as well. What me? So I don't feel these things. So yeah, but back to the point, humans are creatures who love being in control of things, and the second ever something is out of place, they freak. So, what do we do with this feeling of helplessness? Well, according to Mew, you just don't give a shit. 3. Mewtwo's intimidating demeanor is contrasted by Mew's playful, jolly demeanor. While Mewtwo plans on destroying the world, Mew does things like this. However, Mew's behavior and actions don't just serve as comedic relief, they are also things that define his character. Mew and Mewtwo are arguably at the same level of power, but their attitudes are so different towards life, it makes them seem completely different. Little digression, I was recently reading this book by former Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. In summary, this book talks a lot about the philosophy of Stoicism. It has many profound quotes and lessons, but this is one of my favorites. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find inner strength. For those who remember the last scene during the resolution of the movie, Mewtwo realizes this saying in his own way. I see now that the circumstances of your birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are. Mewtwo says this after being moved by the tears of the Pokemon bringing Ash back to life. You could say that Mewtwo was also moved by Ash's actions, as Ash was well aware that he wasn't powerful enough to stop the 2 legendaries from fighting, yet he tried to. Because at that moment, that's all he could do. That's all he could control. Mewtwo was Mew's foil throughout the movie. However, after his epiphany, he leaves with all his clone Pokemon, choosing to be their protector and guardian. Something that he actually has control over. One more thing to notice is that Mew is also a firm believer in the notion of controlling whatever is possible. It's just that he is more, well, playful while doing it. Mew is also a Stoic. But unlike the modern, corrupted interpretation of Stoicism, Mew and Mewtwo as well embrace the philosophy of true ancient Stoicism. Thank you.